Imagine going undercover in a country where one wrong move could cost you your life.
Good evening, everybody. So happy to see so many in here tonight.
Would you have the courage to accept that mission? What would motivate you to take such a risk?
My name is Ulrich Larsen. More than a decade ago, everything in my life crashed when I was hospitalized with an incurable disease, making me unable to continue working as a chef. Without my wife and family knowing, I decided to begin a 10-year undercover operation to infiltrate the world's most brutal regime.
We interviewed Ulrich Larsen, a Danish spy who infiltrated North Korea's inner circles to learn more about international espionage and human rights exposure. I'm Philippe, co-founder of the INGAGE Institute. We help insurers, insurtechs, and risk managers with visionary content marketing and thought-provoking training. Do you struggle to engage your clients and empower your employees? Contact us. Now follow us and stay tuned for the full interview.
Today on the show, I have a great pleasure to welcome a former spy, Ulrich Larsen. Ulrich, you spent a decade infiltrating North Korea. International politics are catching up now. The world is getting quite intense. Why did you spend a decade of your life trying to infiltrate North Korea?
Oh, good question. Well, it depends on many things. From my childhood, I grew up in the southern part of Denmark, where my dad used to work on the ferries who sailed between Denmark and Germany. During the Cold War, it was the East and the West. As my father was stationed to the ferry going to the West, I could go down to the German border police to have a Coke or a hot dog or ice cream. I'm so privileged that in my childhood, we didn't have many Danish TV channels, so most of them were German. We learned the language quite fast as a child, watching children's TV and show. But once my dad was stationed to the ferry to East Germany, I had the same mindset. They are Germans, didn't know anything about the East or the West or socialism, capitalism, whatever. Going the first time to Warmbier, which is a suburbs harbor for Rostock in the old East Germany, I was ready when the ferry went to port to run down to the German border police, which was the East Germans. I simply got stopped on my way out because they told me, these people are communist, socialists, they're bad people. Don't go there. They will never send you back. They probably kill you or something worse. And for a mindset as a child, it's very strange to understand because for me, Germany at that time. But during one of these days with my dad at work, I was playing in an arcade machine, good old fashioned with a joystick and some buttons. I was playing a game named 1942. It's a American fighter jet has to shoot as many as possible Japanese planes down as a result of the attack of Pearl Harbor. My dad gave me a lot of coins for that machine because my hands started to feel a bit rusty and tired. And suddenly, a young kid my age turned on my right side, started shooting for me. We simply did a cooperation there. I think it's the beginning of the cooperation between the East and the West. The first time Mike, as his name was born and raised in East Germany. That day, they were having an award from the government of the DDR, East Germany, and traveled to Denmark for a day. His mother was a school teacher in the system, and his father worked at a council house as a chef. It was an award for talking positive about socialism, East Germany. And we simply changed addresses and started becoming good old pen pals. At one point, my father told me, why don't we go to visit the family? So in the age of 12, I guess, I came to East Germany for the first time.
When was that about? Which year?
It's in the late 80s. So it was before everything totally changed. But being there, I didn't understand anything. Afterwards, when you grew up and you told stories, I remember we'd been in their apartment for like 20 minutes and the doorbell rang. I was just a kid, you know. We were exchanging presents and stuff in his room. And I figure out many years later, the people who rang at the door was actually the secret East German police, the Stasi, because somebody in that house have heard other voices than languages than German. So they thought they were enemies of the socialism in the house at that family. And then I grew up, the wall went down. I had a lot of changes in my life. The director of the mall, Mads Brygger, did a documentary back in 2006 in North Korea, where he simply traveled with a fake theater group with adopted children, which are grown up today at that point, from South Korea. This mindset of traveling into North Korea with adopted kids who comes back to the real Korea was simply something the North Korean like for their propaganda. And then they have to do a fake show, which simply is about independence. And independence is a non-existing word in North Korea. So that was quite bizarre. And one of the most bizarre things is he's also an actor and a keynote speaker today. His name is Jacob Nussel. He's a spastic. You just don't see handicapped people in North Korea. They did a show for the North Korean high officials, and they didn't like the show. So they found the best director in Pyongyang to help Mads and the team produce a great theater show. Jacob was asked to play a normal man who plays he's a spastic, which simply doesn't get mine. And the other one, his name is Simon Yule. At that point, Simon was a big guy. In Asian culture, when you're a big man, you're wealthy. And the director simply wanted Simon to stay in North Korea after their theater show to be a character in North Korean action movies. So he literally feared not to go back home. So he spent 3 total days in his hotel room sitting on the toilet because his stomach was completely destroyed because he was fearing that he couldn't come back home to Denmark because he could be this hero.
Authorities wanted him to stay there.
It was a big wish for them, especially for the director of the theater scene in Pyongyang. But luckily he came back home. I saw that documentary and that triggered something in me because you have the North and the South divided by war, the East and the West of Germany divided by war. So there was many similarities that simply started up. And it sounds completely stupid what the outcome was today, but my mindset was to find out, why do Danish people love North Korea? Because there's a Danish Friendship Association. The chairman, Anders Christensen, who was a chairman for plus 40 years, died this summer, so I don't want to speak bad about him. But, well, I simply find this association, it's called the Danish Friendship Association, North Korea.
Friendship is good.
Yes, it's good. But went to one of their meetings for the first time. It was simply, it was like people didn't even knew that the Berlin Wall was gone in 1989. They wanted Denmark to be as North Korea because then we would all have a job, we will have the same income, everything will be the real socialist idea.
Just to go back a little bit, you go to East Germany and you discover a different new world. What was the feeling over there? Did you feel secure? Did you feel afraid? Did you feel happy? Or what happened in a little boy's mind at that time?
Well, it was a big change because where I grew up, you can have a Coca-Cola, you can have a burger, you can have a hot dog, you can buy everything on the streets. That simply did not occur in East Germany. You stand 2 hours in the line for a piece of bread in the morning. Luckily, because my parents got some D-Mark, we could go to a hotel, to something named a Euro shop, when you can buy what we know from the Western world. And one thing I've been thinking a lot about since is the night before we went to the Euro shop, West Germany was playing a football match. And the German language around me, I start to whistle the beginning of the West German national anthem in East Germany. He was literally putting his fist down my throat saying, you can't do that here because they are capitalist and we are socialist. And he was just a boy as well. So he knew from beginning how the system works and what not to do and what to do, which is quite scary for me. So from then on, I would just speak in German, pretending like, well, this is regular.
So that impression on you going to the other side of the wall at that time.
Yeah.
I remember I did the same before the wall fell down. I went to East Berlin in 1986. It was quite a different experience going through the no man's land and arriving over there and discovering a new world. It was very, very different.
Yeah. It's unbelievable that you can keep people in that iron grip, because one thing that when I look back is people on the street was never really talking with each other, or you kept for yourself. And if you step out the line, you knew that you could be arrested.
It's interesting that you could talk to someone, because I remember when we were there as school kids, we were told not to speak to people on the eastern side for one day. And we were not allowed to talk to people. They said we should not because we could put people in danger.
Yeah.
And there were these shops just made for people with money or foreigners, tourists, where you could get quite a few good things.
Yeah.
But I remember the locals had to queue. I saw huge queues around buildings where there was not much in the shops actually to acquire. It stayed in my mind for quite a while.
But it's an agriculture country. It was the farmer state, as they named it. So they exported everything to keep up.
And you were that kid at that time, And then many years later, you want to go to the North Korean Friendship Association. Why?
Just curious, I guess. And was thinking people can be like that, but they were literally living in another time capsule. Politics is always an issue to discuss. They literally believe that if we have the same perspective on people as in North Korea, Denmark, and the rest of the world would be a fantastic place. My wife, who's not into politics, she said at that time, how stupid can people be? Because can't they see what North Korea is? She hasn't been to North Korea, but she had my view of it, of course. And the thing that is a bit frustrating today is there's a new generation of young people who's interacting with North Korea thinking that the politics should be fantastic and it's completely misunderstood. And it's a bunch of lie and propaganda from the US and South Korea.
Maybe it's a paradise and you go there, everybody's happy, there's no crime, safety, security, the jobs are for everybody. When you look at the West, we have all these crimes, dangers and everything. Maybe they are right.
Well, in that case, what are we doing here? Let's go. I saw the other side of the Korean society as well. And we're taking out to places where they especially don't want any tourists or anything to come. Really, really poor people. They have nothing. They live in houses where the walls are literally about to fall down. I was driving in a parliament car from the North Korean government, and they simply just got a red star on the license plate and a few numbers. And when we drove two people, they stopped up and, paid respect to the regime. That shows for me they fear to do just a minor mistake. And so they literally just keep your mouth shut. When you walk through a regular North Korean people on the streets, they look totally through you. They simply don't interfere with you if they're told by some North Korean officials with power on the shoulders, so to speak. And that's terrifying. But the first time I was there, it was completely different because I was the, first visitor, but I was awarded with a medal of the regime because I made some clips showing the Danish association, how they work to really tell how perfect that country is. If you have a translation as a tourist, you're allowed to talk with someone local or in a factory. There will all be a translator, of course. And I don't think you have the translation that they are saying. They are simply all praising Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un, Kim Il-sung, the whole Kim family. And every third or fourth word is something about them. Because without the mindset of the leaders, North Korea would be in the hands of South Korea today, and the people will live in poor evilness and bad society.
You joined the North Korean Association back in Denmark because you think, I'm interested to see what happens over there. That's your state of mind.
Yeah, my way in was actually an email to the former chairman telling him I've been following the news and I hate to see the propaganda, how bad North Korea is portrayed. But I, as a kid, went to a fantastic country of East Germany and I saw how the socialism/capitalism works. And it was fantastic to see happy people. And I can see that's the same thing happen in North Korea. Why can the world not open their eyes to this kind of societies? And he was like, wow, he was plus 60 at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, here's coming a young man with intention and he loved the system. He's very welcome at us. I then took contact to Mads Brügger, the director, saying, hi, Mads, I'm very impressed about your documentary, The Red Chapel. I found this association. Would you be interested in making a movie with me? Just a simple fan letter. And I think I will never have a reply. But I have like 4 pages from Mads back. And he said, well, it sounds interesting. Keep me updated.
So Mads Brügger is the one who did a report or a documentary back in North Korea, and he cannot go back there. But you saw it and you said, wow, that's very interesting. Based on that documentary about North Korea, you decided to get closer to this friendship association. What do you have in your mind at that time? You say, I'm going to understand what they have. I'm going to check it out. Is it already in your mind that you will infiltrate this?
First of all, my main goal was to come to North Korea, to see the country. Okay. And then...
You wanted to be a tourist?
Yeah, but through the association, it will be easier to be there a longer time to see more. So I was attending those meetings and my mindset was really to portray this association, traveling with them to North Korea, filming them as, kind of Monty Python sketch show, because they literally have funny opinions. And some of them are also, I have to be careful how I'm saying, there are some funny kind of characters, really, who've been in the communist world for their whole lives and have, like strange people, so to speak, without embarrassing anyone. I told them, if this movie going to be something, I need to go to North Korea, but I can't pay myself. So he hooked me up with his producer, Peter Engel, who was the producer of The Red Chapel. And also, I can really recommend you, if you haven't seen it, The Ambassador, Mads Brygger, and Cold Case Hammer Show. He's made many fantastic documentaries where the producer is the same Peter. And I met up with Peter and he said, go book that ticket. I was like, wow, I'm going to North Korea. And he looked at me, have you ever used a camera before? And I was like, well, I guess I did that 20 years ago in my mind. I said, yes, I'm quite skilled with a camera. I didn't know anything about filming. And he simply just gave me a bag with a camera and said, off you go.
Then from there on, you get your tickets to North Korea and there you go. That was within 1 year, 2 years?
I guess it took me 2 years from entering the association to I was on a plane to Pyongyang. But the thing is, when you go to North Korea, you're not allowed to film or taking pictures. And stuff.
Yes.
So that was my next problem. How will I be able even to film anything in North Korea, which could be quite different from what you have been seeing from many documentaries? So I literally asked the Danish chairman and the board members. I became a member of the board quite fast because of my young age. And I said, what are we doing to present our association to the public? What do we do to tell the world how fantastic North Korea is? And they said, well, we do a statement now and then and put it out to the Danish press, but no one publishes it because they think, I didn't say that because they think you're stupid people and find it hilarious.
And it's not very efficient to make a statement. Nowadays, we want to see things, right?
Exactly. So what I said is, why don't we produce some small video clips for YouTube? I was sitting with these people plus 60, and it's now, 12 years ago? So I also have to explain them what YouTube is.
Okay.
And then the chairman, Anders, wanted to be in the media and want to see himself. And he said, it's a great idea. So before traveling to North Korea, I made between 5 or 7 small clips, around 2 minutes each, about the association in North Korea. What I didn't know was that Anders actually sent them to North Korea. So some of them have been shown in North Korea TV. Yeah. So when I arrived in North Korea, they thought I was their friend. I had to be their friend, otherwise I would get in trouble. So they allowed me to film and take pictures. And that's where I met, which I think we're going to talk about later, Alejandro Caudebenas, the chairman of the Korean Federation. I met him there and he heard about me. So that literally opened a lot of doors.
So you first watched that director's film, then you say, I'm going to go to North Korea at some point and understand better. And then you climb the ranks in the North Korean Friendship Association. Then you end up over there. So far, everything is okay. There's no danger. It's just friendly discussions, right?
Yeah, well, I had never loved a leader so much as I did those days, because if you don't love the leader of North Korea, you are in very bad trouble. And the thing is also the people traveling there with Friendship Association, they also need to think, because the Danish humor could really destroy something. So you need to be on your toes 24/7 when being.
The Danish humor can destroy things, not only in North Korea. I love it.
But I went up the rankings, and because of my small movies, I was awarded a Friendship Medal of the regime. And I also have the badges of the leader, which shows you are a respected person, and you don't have that unless you prove your love to North Korean society and especially the leaders. And I did that. I must have been a great actor at that point.
Were you exactly on that one? Are you a great liar?
If my children ask me about something and I try to put up a lie, they can look at me right away. But I think the thing that helped me was I was 95% honest the whole way through. And the last 5% was, the bad side of me in their eyes. Because if you need to put up a lie that big, you need to be quite honest. If I went to a meeting in Dublin with the Korean Friendship Association's gathering, if the phone rang and the guy next to me, he will say, And he would talk, and I would say, "Who was that?" And he said, "Well, that was my wife and children calling me saying good night for protecting me and my family." If I had told him at that point, that would be nice having children, you have a wife, I'm just living my own life in Denmark. If we then 6 months later could be in Belgium or Madrid or Barcelona or whatever, and I was sitting at a table, my phone rang, and he was maybe sitting on another table, but I was taking up my phone, and I was talking Danish, and someone else asked me, "Who was that?" If I then told them, "Oh, it was my wife and kids calling me to say good night," he will sit on the table. I know Danish people are strange, but 6 months ago, he didn't have a wife, he didn't have children. But in 6 months, he had a wife, and the children are able to call him to say good night.
Well, you basically made sure that you would say 95% of the time the truth, so that you make sure that you never lie and you never caught.
Yeah, but I think the last 5% is where you network and figure into the right people. Don't go. Journalism-wise, you can sometimes go straight to the topic, but here I simply let everything come to me. Of course, I was asking questions: how do you do this and how do you do that? I undermined my own intelligence by gathering with people. If they told something that could have interest for the project, I will play this kind of, "Oh, I don't get it. Could you please explain?" And then it will come to a hidden camera or microphone. So I have the intels to use later on. So I think that's what helped me through. I was also taught later on in the process after visiting a CIA agent that I have actually done what the CIA are trained to do their whole life.
So you actually trained as a chef. You were working as a chef before that, right? What kind of chef were you?
I guess basic French international cuisine, Danish cuisine. Now I know we have a little chat before, and if I could, I would have my own place to sell hot dog. That would be a fantastic thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the name of it?
Ristet hot dog.
Ristet hot dog. Det smager meget godt.
Yeah.
Det er fantastisk.
So everybody listening now, we're going to do this in Danish from now on.
Det kan vi gøre. Det er sagtens no problem.
But regular French cuisine. I know Denmark is known for its famous restaurants today, but I don't think it's for the high elite, and you really need to push 50, 60 hours a week into it. And I don't think that cope in the family life, and it's a hard business.
So instead of doing a hard business like being a chef, you'd rather be a spy?
Yeah, it was quite easier.
So you had no training. You met that person from the CIA. What did that person say to you?
Oh, he said a lot I can't talk about. Of course, told a lot of stories. Well, I was learning to interfere with people and networking, got some very good skills. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to figure out things is if you sit in an office room with people negotiating and they leave the room. Biggest rookie mistake is to look in their papers, because that proves you don't believe in them. So be honest, ask the regular questions, and gain the trust of people. That's why it took so many years, because you have to gain the trust of a lot of people in the whole period of time. And of course, I learned to see if I'm getting followed by someone, which I actually did, and I exposed the guy. I used that one time in Spain. Someone was following. When I look back now, I think it wasn't because of me, but just to check me out, but it was because of Alejandro Caudebenas, which has been accused of arms trading and even doing the project. So
how do you see when someone is following you, except in turning all the time behind you? What was the tip?
Well, you need to walk in some patterns, cross the streets and cross back, go the other way. The easiest way is if you find a place with escalators, because if you go up and down a few times or around and you see the same person taking around, pay attention. And one thing is, if a person is following you, it's like even he will never gain eye contact with you. So when you walk past people, you normally just look at people quite fast. But if he's just looking one way, it could be a person who is following you. And then there's other things, of course, which I keep for myself, so no one, if they're following me, will see what I'm doing.
I thought that could be helpful maybe for some people here.
We do that in private.
All right. You train me. So, but still, no eye contact when you follow someone, or if someone was refusing to have eye contact with you. And if you see them again, you take an escalator up and escalator down.
Yeah. If that person is still around, this guy who was following me in Spain was wearing a blue T-shirt, so it was quite easy also to recognize him. And I was into a pharmacy because I had a headache, so I needed some tablets. When I came out, he was standing across the street on a water fountain in the middle of Madrid. So that's not so professional, but yeah, I mean, he was, but probably he didn't thought I knew what kind of way they operated since.
So you
But
have
that didn't
this training with a CIA person, okay? And then you think you're ready. You can go to North Korea and start the trip. Did you have a plan, or you just thought, okay, I'll see how it goes and then I'll go with the flow?
Well, the first visit in North Korea, I haven't visited the CIA agent. So first time was literally on my own. But the second time, I used a lot of his skills he taught me. And thank God for that. When you go into North Korea with a hidden agenda, one minor mistake and you will end up in pieces, or worse. Just look at the American student Otto Warmbier, who was accused of stealing a poster. What happened to him, which is a tragical story. I think the reason Otto was detained was simply because he was an American citizen in North Korea. At that time, they could use him maybe through some negotiation or anything, but it went terrible wrong. So, yeah. But that was after I've been to North Korea that I was aware of his story. The worst thing in my mind is when I was in 2017, I was driving all over Pyongyang and Korea, being treated like a king. We had a lot of great food and spirits and everything was luxury. Otto was detained somewhere in the area where I was driving around. That could have been me. He was just accused of the poster. I was literally exploring the network of drugs and weapons trade to the outer world.
That didn't make you nervous?
Of course, I was nervous. You couldn't show you were nervous. You just have to play the role and be in it. And
you'd have to play the role.
I have to be like I was this guy who wanted to buy weapons with, and I brought an investor in, a fake investor. His background story was perfect for the project because former criminal, drug stealing, 8 years in prison. The thing is, Jim and I were traveling through Beijing. When we talked about how to act in North Korea, we agreed from the moment we boarded the airplane to Pyongyang, we will only speak English with each other the whole way through because we don't want them to think we are talking behind them in Danish. So they would be able, if they're surveilling us, we'd say, yeah, they are all of us. So they knew what we were talking about. We couldn't talk about family. We couldn't talk about anything private in that case. We had a few phone calls back home to Denmark. I was the chosen one for them because Alejandro was arrested, couldn't leave Spain. He's got his passport withdrawn. So I was there as the go-to guy for North Korea at that time. I called back my family and spoke in Danish. But Jim, who was not verified by the regime, only verified by me, called back home. And then later on, we were aware that the North Korean actually tried to dial back that number in Denmark to his wife, just to check if it was his wife he was talking. So, they literally checked us out on any seconds, so to speak. I also
did the background check on you, because when I watched the documentary, sometimes I felt it was like totally improvised. So these guys are going into big trouble.
Well, as Matt said, after the release, I was his lottery ticket to North Korea. He exposed a few things with the Red Chapel, but this one made world attention. I didn't expect anything, and it was like a snowball going down the mountain, getting bigger and bigger, starting a lavine at the end. None of us have ever thought about weapons or drugs. It was just like, gain the trust, and hey, could you help me? And I was like, it sounds interesting, but no, I don't know anything about drugs or weapons.
Because in the film, from what I saw, you basically start becoming friends. And at some point, very fast, actually, they ask, hey, we would like to find some funds to do things.
The thing is, in North Korea, first time when I met Alejandro, he has heard about me and he saw my medals as he had got. And he wanted us to be in contact when we came back to Europe. I traveled to Barcelona to meet up with him. He lives in the area of Tarragona, which is like 80 kilometers south of Barcelona. And we met up at a hotel and he wanted me to be this official delegate of the Korean Friendship Association in Denmark. And I didn't know what that was at that point. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. And then he sent me an email with all the things I could do on behalf of North Korean government. Speak to the Danish press, go into debates, television writers, if that was an option, but also many lines of what not to do. And then he ends the email by saying something like, by the way, if you know someone who is ready to invest between 50,000 euros and €1 million, we can maybe do something. And that twists the whole thing of, funny people traveling, believing North Korea is paradise, to actually be criminal.
So it's that time when he starts asking you to find funds, to find investors. That's where you start entering a new dimension.
If I came up day 2 with an investor, it would look quite suspicious. For 3 years, I was traveling to all the meetings and he was more and more pushy. Have you find someone? Look towards Norway. They got a lot of oil billions, all those kind of things. And then after some years, we agree on, let's try to find an investor.
So 3 years building up the relationship. During that time, you are still in contact with this Danish director, Mads Brugger. Then after these 3 years, you decide, okay, we'll get you an investor. In that time, what do you tell your wife? You tell her traveling happily or what?
I told her I was helping a Danish film company with their cameras, which is true. I had some cameras, but they were hidden. So she didn't ask many questions and didn't pay any attention. Sometimes I think that she was actually happy I was away a few days at the time. It was just when we revealed the truth or the puzzle went together.
I saw that in your documentary.
Yeah.
But in that time, you're still in a normal phase. Like there is no spying, no collecting information. You're building up the trust. You're talking to them. You don't really know where you're going to, right?
Just follow the leads, so to speak.
One day you have this Danish director saying, hey, I've got an investor. How does that work?
I was a bit surprised when I Googled Jim at that time because his background, as I told before. The thing is, when you Google Jim,
he had been in a French army legion. He'd been 8 years in jail. He was basically doing business around different parts of the world.
And he has pictures proving he's been traveling around the world to buy expensive hotels, which could build up his background. I think North Korea at that time and today, they just simply need money or something to continue the iron grip of the people and to rebuild, nuclear weapons. But me and Alejandro verified for Mr. James for the North Korean. It was just, okay, bring him here if possible. So we arranged a trip. He was dressed as this rich. He's the poorest billionaire I've ever been together with, so to speak. Didn't got the amount of money he was talking about, but he was really playing that role. And as he said, as a criminal, I will remember my lies. That's how I lived for many years. Even if I'm drunk, I still remember my lies. And we had some alcohol, and the North Korean loved him because, no, they didn't love him. They loved his money. He was supposed to have pay for them.
Now, how did you pay that Jim? Because obviously, if he's a criminal, he was not just doing it for fun, right? So where did you get the funds to do that?
Well, we have the producer, was a very fantastic and skilled producer. He had his network to bring in funds, and he had some funds himself very late in the editing. After I revealed the truth, actually, that the last funding was to do the last. I'm not into that, but during the whole process, it was only 4 people who knew the completely truth. That was me, the producer, director, and a security guy until very late on.
Nobody talked, yeah.
No, even little communication between us, and when I communicated with Mads, it was through crypted chats.
Oh, which one did you use?
Both Telegram and Signal. Yeah, and then meet up in various locations.
So you found this potential investor, Jim, or James in the film, I think you call him.
Yeah.
And he seems to be a perfect actor. Convinces them that he has plenty of money to invest. What happens from there?
Oh, from then on, the first 2 days in Pyongyang with Jim, they didn't show us really anything. They want him to have an office building in Pyongyang to work from there. And Alejandro has told me that when you come out there, they would like to talk with you about buying guns, drugs, etc.
Very fast, you start talking about drugs and guns.
It actually happened a half a year before we went to North Korea and Oslo, Norway, because I put up with Jim and Alejandro. And, well, we knew we won't push him, ask him. He needs to come to us. And it took him like 5 minutes to start what you can invest in. That is the best profit for you. And that was weapons and especially methamphetamine. When the meeting was over, I was like, okay, is Alejandro really capable of put us into this? Or is he simply just trying to have some fast euros for Mr. James for himself? But we took the chance and went to North Korea, and Alejandro briefed them. And the first 2 days, as I said, was looking at office houses and hotels. And I was like, hey, took them away. I have a contact person for 8 years in North Korea named Mr. Kang. I said, hey, Mr. Kang, have Alejandro didn't tell you anything about why I brought Mr. James here? And he said, oh yes, but we need to be sure. And I said, hey, listen, I can verify for him as well. But in 4 days, we will leave again. And then you probably lose an investor. The next morning, the North Koreans flipped it all over. We went to meetings with the president of the pharmaceutical industry and with the president of the arms production in North Korea.
In North Korea.
In North Korea, in a hidden basement in a very scary place where I thought I will never come out alive. That was nerve-wracking. And, being in North Korea, you're simply in a dark hole, so you can't even phone out or find my iPhone doesn't work. So you are, sorry to say, literally fucked up if something goes wrong.
And you're pretty much on your own.
No one can get me out. And even then I brought Mr. James, but he knew the risk and the consequences. He knew how to play the criminal role. And he has to pass as a criminal, as you say, so he know how to deal. But still, it's North Korea. It's not Danish criminals he's interfering with.
But
for
the
fun.
stakes would be quite high. He must have been paid extremely well to do that job. Or was he just doing it for fun?
I don't know what the contract issues was for Jim, but I think he also used it as his way of getting away from the criminal world he was in, because he was released, I think, 8 months prior to that. And he has a son at that time. I think he was around 7, 8. I also think he wanted to be back and do something for the families. I think it's quite easy to go back to the criminal world when you've been there with the easy money and the free life. But I think that it helped him through being what he is today. He got his own business and has a few roles in a Danish TV series.
So to go away from the criminal world, he goes into the spy craft in North Korea.
Yeah.
And now he's a TV star.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think he went to 1 or 2 TV shows as a minor role, playing a criminal, of course. It's stuck to him. Jim is fantastic. He's a busy guy today and have a lot of project. He got his own company. I think he's mentoring a lot of young people also. We speak once in a while, but the schedule has to fit between us. Now it's Christmas time. Maybe we should have a Christmas dinner with him. I need to ask him. Otherwise, Jim, here's the invitation. And you guys are welcome too.
Hey, thank you. Vi might want some julehygge. Det
Yeah.
skulle godt, tror jeg.
Yeah.
So you're basically doing all these things, talking to them. You get, at some point, you start getting some information about weapons, drugs. And I saw in your documentary, you get the whole process, where we set up the company, which country, how do you deal, how, the triangle, how you finance everything. Was this very breaking news, or wouldn't the intelligence community know this?
Let's go back to my time in this with the CIA agent. He told that for 20 years at that time, CIA tried to put in a person in my position, which didn't succeed for them. I don't have the funds, and we didn't have the funds that CIA has, so maybe they're a bit embarrassed. So, as I say, if CIA needs anything, help in the future, call me. I'm ready. No, but
You got a lot of friends, you know.
yeah. But yeah, well, no one has been to those meetings. No one has met those people. We had the papers, the list of weapons and how to produce the methamphetamine. We had the prices, how much items they have. We did got the manual to firing missiles and stuff. We went below the level of a nuclear weapon. We went to thermobaric missiles was the thing on the list. And I think having those papers in your hand sitting in a basement in North Korea, I was not convinced. Still, I was going out. And then the most bizarre things happened for me in North Korea in that basement.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, when you are with North Korean people and of government officials, there's a lot of alcohol involved.
Yeah.
So we had a few beers and some of their ginseng snaps, they call it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the president of the arms factory stood up, did some typing or something. And then he turned around with a microphone in his hand as my friend started singing North Korean karaoke. I was literally, oh my God, now they're just playing with us, because in that room was also lights like a discotheque, and it was a very bizarre place. Then the song was over, and karaoke. Now you've been in Denmark, our karaoke movies is like man meets a lady, they fall in love, they kiss, and they split up. Everything is bad and everything is fantastic in the end. In North Korea, the movies I saw was every fifth or 10 words is something related to the leaders, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-un, or Mansei, which is like a cheering kind of thing. And the end of the video that the USA has disappeared from the world map, there's simply just a hole and the Pacific and the Atlantic Sea is like gathering together. The US disappeared. And then he said, I need you to sing a song. I was like, first of all, I'm a bad singer, I guess. I know that for sure. And then I had been studying a bit and I said, well, there's some English songs and there were Beatles. And I was like, okay, something easy, Let It Be or Hey Jude. And he gave me the microphone and I was expecting singing the Beatles. And they put on Celine Dion with My Heart Will Go On, which she's a great singer. And I was like, I can't sing that song.
Neither can I. That's a tough one.
But I know also that it's unpolite if you refuse to be a part of the entertainment and Korean culture. Mm-hmm. So what I did was improvising. And I started singing a Danish children's song who I've been singing for my daughters when they were small. I was feeling so much pressure. So today I can't remember the song. I simply can't remember it, which one it was. But I was playing things and stuff during I was singing. And I remember looking at Jim and he was completely broke down laughing because, I must have looked quite funny. But then I sat down on my chair and I took a beer, emptied the bottle. Then one of the North Korean officials came around, put his hand on my heart and told me, Mr. Larsen, I can feel this coming from your heart. And I was like, yeah, it's from my heart. It's my children. But he took it a step further. No, it's because you love our dear leader. And I really love your dear leader. What should I do? But that proved to me as well, I was quite safe anyway, because they won't do that unless they really mean it. And if you praise the leaders, you come a long way, but don't praise them with irony which I actually did. Could have been a problem for me. After I was rewarded the medal of the regime, we went to a gathering with people from all around the world. And the thing is, many of those people, as I said before, are elderly people at that time. But to gathering and partying, we should play basketball because Kim Jong-un loves basketball. And I never played it, and all the other older people never played it. I think it was one American who was respected something for charity in North Korea. He could play a bit. He was also an older man. But standing there having a few pints, beer, I was standing with a North Korean official and I was a bit, tippy. And I did what no one should do. I pretended like I was playing golf and I swing the stake. Yeah. And looking out like in the horizon, like, yes, I said, I'm very inspired of Kim Jong-un because I know that he is able of doing 6, 8 or 9 hole-in-ones during a golf course. And the minute I said it, I was like, shit, this is bad. And this North Korean official, he just stared me right in the eyes. His face was literally frozen. And then he started laughing. Not a real laugh, like, ha, 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 no. And he said, no, I heard that story. That's American propaganda.
Okay.
And
that was your last mistake.
And then he tapped it saying, Mr. Larsen, do you know why we are here today? And I was like, yeah, we're here to celebrate. I was awarded a medal with the rest of the comrades here. Yes. And the reason we play basketball is because Kim Jong-un loves basketball. And actually, he's one of the best in the world to dunk the ball. And then I was thinking, well, the basket is 3.5 meters above, and he's only 165 or something. I would like to see him jump up, put that ball in that basket, But that he was believing that he was able to jump like this 2 meters up to put the ball in the basket. I was like, next, I go to the toilet or something. But that shows if they have told something, North Korean people or officials, they believe it. But if I didn't have the medal, they would probably say, okay, you need to go and rest until your flight's back home. But for me, I had the medal. I was proof. Some of them have traveled abroad and been to Europe. Mr. Kang, my contact person, has been to Denmark twice. So he knows a bit of the culture as well. But it's really shows that irony is not accepted, not on behalf of the leaders.
Okay, so that was a near call on that one.
That was quite near.
At that point, you didn't do these kind of mistakes anymore. Was that some point where you thought, wow, you come from a normal life. You're a cook, and then you start talking about these things. Did you feel like James Bond at some point, like a Danish James Bond?
I am the Danish James Bond.
You won.
No. Well, actually not really. I didn't want to do any heroic things coming into a fight. But being in Washington with the CIA agent, I felt a bit James Bond because I was taught to handle weapons if I got threatened. I think I was 40 when I was together with the CIA agent. And I was like, okay, I'm 40 years old. If I was 30, I would say, wow, I'm going to be with a CIA agent. It's cool. I did the same as an age of 40. It was literally, watching grown up with American TV series like Miami Vice, and you said James Bond. Don Johnson was always my big idol as a kid from Miami Vice. But also I was quite aware of being a CIA agent. It's not always by weapons and firing and fighting, car chases. It could be many thousands of hours behind a desk, researching, being on a staker, watching people, boring jobs as well, but also important, of course. But
And then I imagine you going back to your cozy life in Denmark. You have your wife say, hey, Ulrich, did you bring the laundry? Wasn't there some point where you thought, of course I bring the laundry, I take care of it. But did you think, if only I could tell her all the things I'm doing, she would understand?
I had it deep inside. I wanted to tell her everything.
Yeah.
But the reason I didn't do it was because, first of all, my protection when traveling away, and also the protection of my family. If I told her I'm doing this, it's a secret. You can't talk with anyone about it. But let's assume she's going to the cafe with one of her friends, as she do now and then. If I was away and probably in North Korea or something, and the friend says, hey, where's Ulrich? And she was, oh, he's in North Korea, and if someone around would hear that, it could make people think, why is he in North Korea? She knew I was in North Korea for sure, but that was on another purpose of filming the country with a TV crew. And then, of course, my children at that age were 4 and 8. If they heard something, imagine they say in the school, hey, my dad is in North Korea. He's trying to expose something evilness. And then it could be out to thousands of people in no time. And if I was there, I would probably not come out if some of the Danish Friendship Association were aware of it, or the KFA, Korean Friendship Association.
7 years, you kept this for yourself.
The secret things about weapons and drugs and the people in Africa. And we went to Uganda, seeing people leave the country, the island, and those things.
The island in Uganda that you were supposed to buy and do deal. That was quite a disturbing thing.
I talked with her about all these things when she was aware of the truth. And she now understands also why I didn't told her, because she got like, okay, if I don't want to use the word screwed up, but if she, a nice conversation could always be deeper and more trustful. She knows it was to protect the family.
She forgave you.
I'm still married, so but that's one of the questions I have the most actually when I travel around all of Denmark to tell my stories, and hopefully coming out of the country as well. And that's a question every time we say, are you still married? Or, are you married? And then someone said, yeah, with the same or a new one? And I said, no, it's still the same. And I'm thankful for that. I love my family above everything. We've been together for 20 years or something.
What about your security? Because you must have pissed off a lot of people. These are not exactly kind people. Don't they resent you very much? Isn't there a threat on you?
It's a difficult question because some of the things I can't talk about public. But of course, when the North Koreans were aware of the truth, my life changed drastically. It was actually, I think it's 4 weeks before the premiere of the more Alejandro Cardenas and the North Korean were told the truth. We editing that close to the release date. And from then on, it was like, first of all, for me telling them who I am, what I was doing, was like, I lost 10 kilos off my shoulders because all the secrets and lying. But it's also twist the whole thing over that the Danish intelligence service needs to be, at that point, a part of my life, very close to me and follow my steps. Our home was changed, and other doors, security-wise, surveillance systems. I have to change the car I had at that point. And I couldn't just go out on Facebook, hey, I'm going to Tivoli. It's an amusement park in Copenhagen. Those kind of things stopped because no one had to know where I was.
Do you have a bodyguard or anything like that?
I am. Now then, yes. Especially in the beginning, I couldn't go without in public. So going out.
Let's go and have a beer together when I'm in Copenhagen.
I will find a basement with a bar. No, I think in Denmark, it's, and we have to remember, it was released during COVID. So it was not possible traveling in from Denmark or especially Spain, the Catalonia area and the Basque country side. There's a lot of North Korean supporters, and I don't think I have to go there too much and tell them I'm here. 2 years ago, in the summer of 2022, we went actually to Spain for holiday, the whole family, in the Lloret de Mar area, north of Barcelona. Alejandro made a cafe because he couldn't leave Spain, so he needs his North Korean fix daily. So he built up his own cafe named Cafe Pyongyang. And I've been there several times when it was open. And I said to my wife, well, we need to go this place. It's called Tarragona. It sounds interesting. We drove to Spain, which I can't recommend anybody. It's a long drive, but we did it. So we have our car with us. And, in the car, she got aware, okay, my freaking husband want to go to visit the cafe again. So I went there and got some pictures, and we just walked away, and then we go into a little shop to buy an ice cream for the kids.
But you went to his cafe?
Yeah, it was closed.
There.
I know he wasn't there because the authorities closed the cafe. I'm not sure what the story is. I knew it was closed, but I knew there could be a risk of meeting him in Tarragona.
You do like risk.
Yeah. Also, for me, it's very important to show I don't fear you guys, because then they will win above me, and I'm not the kind of people. I'm standing 100% for what I've did, and I will do it again if I was asked to. Now I know my face will be a bit familiar in North Korea, so...
That ship has sailed for you. That career is gone, I think.
Well, there was someone typed me a few months after the premiere from Spain. Just so you know, your face is on the target list in North Korea. Your face is in the middle. I was like, okay, funny, but that's the kind of message you have from people who don't agree with you. And a lot of the hate I got came from Spain. It's still coming. I guess 2 days ago, message that I should probably not go to North Korea, which I replied, I think you're probably right.
Have you been back to North Korea just before that date, or?
I spent 10 minutes in North Korea last year. 10 minutes on the other side of I think it's called the Yalu River, who divides a part of north and the south. That means like this, it's like a ski condo. You can travel over. One day it's North Korean having the reserve day there. People can travel from north to the south to see if they have been there or not. They have to put out names on all the lists. I went there and they put another name for me. I was over the 10 minutes and standing at a fence in North Korea. On the other side was North Korean soldiers. If they knew I was there, they could probably have picked me out there, but I wasn't fearing the trip over. It's like a 5 minutes ride over. But when going back, I was fearing the whole way, if this lift stop and start going backwards, I'm fucked. Literally fucked. And I didn't post anything before 3 days later I was back in Denmark.
Why did you go there in 10 minutes? What was the drive?
At that point, I've been twice in North Korea and twice in the South. That was my third time in South Korea. So the balance was not, even. 3, 2, so now it's even. And then I went 2.
Of course, you have to make it even.
Yeah, but I went back in June this year to South Korea.
Yeah.
Things, they wouldn't let me go again. I need to respect that.
Where? North?
Or to go over the other side and in this special area. Which is
they've been there, they know the story, they know it's possible to go from...
Yeah, I think they simply just don't want me to push the line even further, because I'm also in their security when I'm in South Korea. Have a person following me as a security man around.
You said the CIA tried to do this for 20 years, but when they're very upset, when they find out that you basically published everything, wouldn't they have hoped the Danish intelligence community or Americans that you would have gone on and gotten more secrets, information?
Well, I've been speaking with a lot of agencies, but I was first discovered in September 2020. I had an email, and it was a month before the release of them all. And I had an email which were me in a photo from one of the sessions I've been doing with the North Korean Society in the KFA Association. There was a picture of me pointing at a model of the hotel/factory we should build in Africa. And first I thought somebody was making
the factory for weapons, actually.
And I thought somebody was making a joke with me from the mass brygger or the producer or someone. But I started to see they want an explanation how I can stand in Copenhagen pitching joint venture deals in Africa on behalf of the North Korean government. The one who sent me that email was the United Nations North Korean panel. And that picture has been online for like 10 minutes by mistake by a British KFA delegate, Dermot Hudson, which Alejandro asked him to remove. But that time someone have seen that picture, and they spent like almost a year, 9-10 months, to figure out who's that Danish person. The email came in my personal email. I think they went through the Danish Foreign Ministry to find my information. And they wanted me simply to give them an answer what I was doing, and they gave me like 30 days to reply. I was a bit panicked, so I called the producer and the director and say, well, just tell them you will give them an answer within 30 days. And in that period of time, the mall had to premiere. So they got the answer by the media.
Why 30 days? You didn't owe them anything, right?
I didn't know. We wasn't done with the editing and stuff. They gave me 30 days. I had a lot of talks afterwards with many people around the world and, authorities, agencies. And, well, they are quite interesting in many things.
But didn't they tell you why you should have gone on?
They never got the chance asking me to continue. And the thing is, if I should have continued my way in this, I needed Mr. James to pay like a lot of $1 million. We didn't pay them as much as 50 cents because then we would have done a crime against the sanctions and stuff. So we were very aware of not paying them anything and took it as far as we could in the project.
And none of the agencies reached out to you. Did you really go under the radar? Like nobody contacted you during that time? That means nobody knew what you were doing?
No one spotted me until the end of this picture that was found as being online for 10 minutes. So that's great. I must have been a good spy, family life, traveling all around, traveling under the radar for the agencies. So I should have chosen another career when I was young.
What is your advice on how to train a spy? The top 3 things you learned for a good spy, what are they?
First of all, be humble. Don't be pushy. Second, be honest. 95%. Yeah. And simply don't act like a hero. Be calm. Be aware of your surroundings, first of all. If you go to a place where you have to meet with people, go there 2 or 3 days before, check out the area, do it again. And the day you have the meeting, if things look strange, it is strange. So be careful.
Did you develop some kind of paranoia over this decade of infiltrating?
Surprisingly not. Being a chef, you're quite stressed all the time. So this kind of freaky situations, I was used to deal with that as a chef. And simply, I think there was so much interest in my person and still are. So it's kind of therapy for me to talk about all the things as well. So, I don't keep, of course there are secrets I can't expose here or to other, which come to another part of my life after the mode. No paranoia. Maybe if I'm walking around Copenhagen and I hear some Korean language, I don't understand Korean, but I recognize some words. Then I look above my shoulder maybe, but I think the chance of a North Korean citizens or agent being in Denmark is very small. So, of course, traveling to South Korea is a different way of going around.
Do you know what happened to the people you dealt with? They were a bit played in a way, so they probably were not exactly congratulated by their top management. Do you know what happened to them?
Well, I know that when Mass did the Red Chapel he has a contact person, Mrs. Pak. She's been seen afterwards. His first documentary came out still traveling around, showing the country around. And I know this sounds a bit rough, but for me, it's not my responsibility what the North Korean government does to their people. But I also think that in this case, they literally have to say, okay, he really messed up with us and we believed in him. And I have no intel from North Korea today on Mr. Kang or Mr. Kim. It's very important for me to say I don't hate North Korean people. I hate the regime, how they treat the North Korean people. And I'm also aware of Mr. Kang. He has to do what he does because otherwise his life would look more miserable than today. He's improved. He's been traveling around Europe, been to Denmark. I met his family and I brought Lego bricks. I bought 35 kilograms of Lego bricks to a kindergarten in North Korea on the countryside the first time as charity because they don't have Lego and the children of Mr. Kang was so happy. I hope nothing happened to them, but I also know if nothing happened to them, they are back in business in Belgium, where Mr. Kang attended. We were already speaking, him and me, confidential about weapons and stuff and the possibilities of selling things in and out. It was first when Alejandro really revealed things in 2016 in Oslo. We paid attention to it because we know the North Korean officials should gathering a lot of money to the regime or goods they can use in the development of even tractors or cars, everything. I have so many bizarre things to tell about what I was asked to do for the embassy. But I could speak for that for years.
What is the craziest thing you were asked to do?
I was asked by the North Korean embassy in Stockholm, which covers all of Scandinavia, to buy some pig semen to produce pigs in North Korea. And I was like, yeah, but how do we do this? And what is the budget? And I was like, oh, we have 2,000 euros. And he said, well, half a container, 2.5 liters. I said, yeah, but how will you bring it to North Korea? Oh, we drive to Copenhagen in cars to pick it up by you and send it back. And I was like, okay, but don't you know it needs to be in some kind of special temperature to keep the semen healthy and to be used? And yeah, so that's probably one bizarre to pick up semen from a pig farm because they want to produce pigs in North Korea.
Okay.
It's crazy to think back on.
Now, one thing, we hear a lot about fake news. And I saw there was a lot of questioning about the truth of what happened to you there. Did it really happen? How did you prove that it really happened?
I have 75 hours of recordings from North Korea proving things. We have so much cryptic chat with Alejandro, with the North Koreans. It's like 10 years of my life covered. The documentary is 2 hours, I guess. And if we have to put all those kind of things in, it would have been like literally you should have done the Truman Show with me when I began. So you will see the whole perspective of it. But it's been hours and hours chatting in the computer. And there could also be months where I have no interaction with anyone in that area. So patience has been the key word here. And as Mads said, my face is like, you can't recognize me. If you see me once, I could rob a bank without being noticed because my face is so neutral. But it's not that neutral anymore when you see your face.
You're the regular guy.
Exactly. With a hidden agenda, maybe. I don't know how to pronounce it, say that, but yeah.
Aren't you bored now?
Oh, I was actually just thinking about doing a job application at you guys. If you have a job, I'm ready. Well, of course, I'm a bit bored because I like to dig in things, but now my face is more familiar than before. If you watch The Mole, I don't know if you remember some of the last lines between me and Mads.
Just after the talk with Alejandro?
Yeah, Mads asked me, do you want to be a mole again? And my answer is simply, you never know.
You had a little... I remember.
Yeah, well, you never know. Of course, I'm not going back to North Korea. Oh, yeah. Not in that way, but
for now, You know, we work with training. Have you thought about doing training?
Yeah.
What kind of would you do?
Well, of course, I can't train anyone to go to North Korea. That would be quite stupid of me. But with my mindset and the experience I got, I could train people in company business to not fear taking decisions, to teach them how to dig into things before you choose to work with probably this company or this company. Make people believe in themselves, but there's always a calculated risk with anything. But you need to find the balance, because I don't think anybody could do a whole work life without doing mistakes. The thing is, put some inspiration in people. With the internet today, it's easier than before to know, is this person the right guy to hire, or is this company the right one to cooperate with? Also, I think one of our main skills is actually how to interfere with people in person.
Interfere or interact?
Interact. Can you trust this? I did a test once with some friends saying, who of you are lying now? They want me to. And I figured that out because there are some kind of people's behavior when you ask into them. They will feel uncomfortable. They will do this if you hit them with someone which they are not true about. For me, it's quite easy now to spot a liar, so to speak. When I'm out telling my story around Denmark, I can see if people are interested in me. Because one of the things is in Denmark, you lived here, so you know it's called the Jantelov in Denmark, which means
than anybody else.
Exactly. Or if you earn more money than him, you're a bad guy, you just get money for nothing. And you can literally feel, I can feel on people now, they want to know how many millions euros did you made of the mole? And I was like, zero. I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I want to expose when the things got evolved into how North Korea undergo the sanctions and the human rights. And that means more for me than fame and fortune. And I think if you got that mindset, you have a good employee, or you'll be a good boss. I know as a chef, you need to have money in your company, but the one who said, I only want to do it for 100,000 a year, maybe you're not the right guy, because what would you do for the company as well? I'm sure the company would give you what you deserve. That's not the issue, but don't expect to have like this and this and this, because then you're bad people. Literally, because we have a phrase in Denmark, which means you rather want the goal before the money. You don't go for the money. You go for doing a good business. You go for doing something for other people, which are more important. Of course, you have to live and you need an income, but don't go out and expect to do something because you want to be a millionaire. That's not the
motivation. But still, I mean, you say you have to make a living, get an income. You were unemployed for quite a time, right?
Well, no.
I don't want to be too bad. Basically, you got paid by the state to do this?
No. I wish if I went to the state before, they would have said, hey, this guy is stupid, he can't infiltrate North Korea, or an agency. But if I look back, if I did that, I wouldn't sit here today, because then I was doing something that could have probably cost my life. I think when you are a real undercover agent or working for an intel service, they forget your face because they probably won't have any pictures of you. But if you Google me today, I think there's hundreds of photos of me or articles, maybe even more. So for me, it would be difficult, but I would love to do things like this in the future. Maybe not as me, but help people.
Heavy face job. Yeah.
Big beard, long hair.
Curly hair, and then you back to the excitement.
Yeah, well, maybe I should grow my hair. I think it's too late, but yeah. I actually sometimes have emails from people who wants to expose something and want my assistance. But many of them want to film it. I think that's because they want to go on TV. They want to have some fame of it. Being here in the family, I'm just husband and father. And I've been that all my life. But going from the day before the release of the mole to the day after, I really needed to keep my feet on the ground, because everybody was typing you, calling you on the streets, pulling you. And that's nice when people want to say you did a great job or you're cool. But of course, there are also these people who wants to do a statement to you or tell you you're an idiot. I'm not a celebrity at all. But
you're not recognized when you walk in the streets of Denmark?
No. Oh, yeah. I don't see myself as something. But there's Danish actors and documentaries way more worth for me. I feel they did something unique. People ask me, are you not proud of it? I said, yeah, of course. I still have idols all over the world. Being yourself is the best way of having a healthy life and work life, because I know going in a job is sometimes it's actually like being undercover, I guess, because you have to play a role.
It's dangerous, but yeah.
Yeah, but when I was a chef, I had a hotel manager, and I was the head chef of the kitchen. But he was, everything responsibility for 3 or 4 hotels or something. And I sat with him just, private, and had a beer late evening after work. I said, well, Thomas, how is it to be the boss of everything? And he said something which I kept to me since. It's like, well, when I go out here, I do the same as you and the dishwasher. I'm Thomas. But when I'm walking the hotel, it's like going in a theater. I have a role to play.
Okay.
That stick to me. That's a role to play. But you can't be the same at work. You can't be the same at home, because then life would be miserable. Have those during now family time, work time. And I think everybody on the work, especially in the chef's business, you can be the most polite husband at home, but many chefs in the kitchen, dictators and, really shouting and trash talking to colleagues. Get that dish away now, I'm going to fucking kill you. That is the terms, and that's how it's, isn't it? I don't know yet today, but I think it's not getting better because the pressure is so much.
Vladimir Putin also had a chef as a right hand, Prigozhin.
Yeah, I don't think Putin wants me as his right hand, but that would be a problem. Yeah, but chefs are good.
Chefs are good.
Yeah.
Ulrich, I think we could keep on talking for quite a while. Is there anything we can wish you for the years to come? What is your deepest wish?
Oh, my deepest wish.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I have many things, but one thing that always comes to me is I would love to bring my family for a 1 month vacation in Australia on the private front, and of course, healthy life for all. But yeah, I really hope that people in companies want to hire me to have an inspirational speak, because that's what I'm really burning for now, to help people. And I'm still have a lot of contact to South Korea, and has been meeting up with defectors of North Korea, many of them. And I would love to find a media who together with me wants to tell the story of their way of getting out and how life is. One of the story who touches me the most, there's 2, but I think this one is most bizarre. A young lady, I'm not quite sure of her age, but I would guess between 18 and 22. The family lived close to the DMZ, the border to the south. And one day, the parents came her room, and she was listening to K-pop from South Korea, which is a crime in North Korea. She shut down the radio, and then she defected because she was fearing her own parents. As a only child, she feared that the mom and dad would turn her into the authorities because they were good citizens. And she managed to escape to South Korea through China to where the South Korean embassy in Bangkok. And today she is an influencer she called herself an influencer and she had a little, I think she's making jewelries and stuff and pictures and poses. But she said, I don't know what happened to my parents. Are they killed by the regime because their daughter defected? Or did they have to tell, no, we did something with her because she was listening to K-pop? And actually one of the defectors I met Donald Trump 8 years ago.
Really?
Or 7, 8 years ago in Washington. He was invited. I asked him what he thought about Donald Trump, but he said he's the president of the United States. He didn't want to say anymore.
Got re-elected. What do you think about his meeting with Kim Jong-un?
I think it was literally just to earn some cheap points, politic-wise, around the world, believing that Trump could bring peace into the Korean Peninsula.
No, he didn't bring anything.
I just think that I'm a bit worried about the future, but also for Danish perspective of view, we see maybe Donald Trump as a businessman who wants to run America as a CEO. What we're not used to in Denmark is when politicians say, I'm going to do this, nothing happens. But I think Donald Trump, when he says, I'm going to call Putin. I'm going to call Kim Jong-un. He will do it. Maybe, it's his last chance. He can't be elected anymore. That's right. Well, I thought Harris could be a better president, but now I'm a bit in doubt because I actually think Donald Trump wants the best with the U.S. Hopefully he can bring in some peace around the world in the conflicts that the U.S. is a part of. But North Korea-wise, I don't think anything will change as long as Kim Jong-un is at the power.
So let's hope that we can bring peace in this crazy world. Ulrich, that was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here. And yeah, anytime, if you have any questions, I'm here. I promise.
Sounds cool. Hey, Ulrich. Vi ses. Ha det godt. Hej.
That's all for today's episode, where we brought you some of the latest and greatest from the training, technology, and insurance worlds. Thanks for listening, and thanks to our guests for sharing their valuable insight with us. If you struggle to capture the knowledge of your experts, contact us. We'll record engaging interviews with them for you to share. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our channel and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find us on YouTube or LinkedIn, where you can watch the full video of this interview and many others. This interview was made possible thanks to Patrice Sejan of a powerful remote interview studio based on AI. Until next time, stay safe and stay insured. Cheers.